Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, my friends. This is your beginner's guide to Virtua Fighter 5. Specifically Virtua Fighter 5 R.E.V.O, but this is absolutely just as applicable for Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. In fact, we're recording this on Ultimate Showdown, the PS4 version. The only difference between the two versions is R.E.V.O has rollback netcode and crisper 4K graphics. Otherwise, they are the same game, so this guide will be as applicable for both games. So in this guide, what I'm going to be doing is walking you through basically everything you need to know. How general combat, how general game flow works in this game, the basics, how everything works, and a lot of the more advanced concepts as well. Everything will be time-stamped for your ease of use, so skip forward to whatever makes sense for you. And hey, leave a like for timestamps, please. Thank you very much. And that said, let's start with the basics. What exactly just makes Virtua Fighter Virtua Fighter? So the big thing out of the gate, obviously, it is a 3D fighter. You have full movement in a 3D plane compared to, say, like 2D fighter like a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. And it is what we call a 3-button game. There is punch, there is kick, and there is block. And that's it. That's it. That's all. It doesn't get too complicated. Punch, well, punches. Kick, kicks. Guard, blocks. And of course, there is combinations of the buttons do different things. Usually kick and guard is a much bigger kick. Usually punch and kick together is usually a much bigger punch. And guard and punch together is always some kind of throw. So when it comes to just manipulating the various buttons, there really isn't many buttons to worry about in this game. There's only 3 buttons. That's it. That's all. And through these buttons and all the various attacks, this creates what we call the triangle system. Now, the rule I'm about to talk to you about does have exceptions, because every fighting game has exceptions to the rules, but here's how the triangle system works normally. All right, so you have all sorts of attacks, right? Well, guarding beats attacks. So that's one angle of the triangle. The next angle, well, if they're guarding, throws beat guards. Naturally enough, that's a simple enough concept, right? If they're blocking too much, then you throw them. Sure, okay. Now the last angle of our triangle is attacks beat throws. So compared to some other, more mainline 3D fighters, if you attempt to throw someone and you are faster than their attack, you throw them, right? In this game, in Virtua Fighter, with very rare exception, there's a couple, if you're even a single frame into your attack, you cannot be thrown. Doesn't matter if the throw is on the last possible frame to grab you and your attack is on frame 1, an attack will always beat a regular throw. Simple as that. So if you're in a situation where you know you'll be thrown, just go for an attack. In fact, go for your biggest attack. It won't get you, so you don't have to worry. And you can go for like your mega launchers, all that kind of stuff. So once again, blocking beats attacks, throws beat block, and attacking beats throws. That's sort of the basics of the triangle. Due to this being how the game works, that means throws are incredibly important. Compared to other games, every character is a grappler in this game. It's just a matter of some people are better at throwing than others, but everyone needs to rely on throws. That's how the game works. There's more stuff as well. The triangle metaphor is not perfect, like evading also beats attacks, and throws also beat evades. But we'll cover everything in due time as we go through the guide, all the rules and all the exceptions to the rules. And just the final part for this absolute basic section is, stage matters, and there's ring outs. You ring out, you die. End of story. Doesn't matter how much time was on the clock, doesn't matter how much life you had left, doesn't matter if you did something stupid. If you're going to play Vanessa, watch your angles, because you'll fall over and die and lose. Stage matters, positioning matters, keep it in mind. Now, onto the basics of offense. Now, onto the basics of how offense works in Virtua Fighter. So, this is a 3D fighter, and as the 3D fighter, there's usually 3 attack levels. There's highs, there's mids, and there's lows. And being a 3D fighter, it works mostly the way you'd think. Highs are generally your fastest attacks across the board. But the weakness of a high is, well, you can go under it, right? And not only can you go under a high, lots of moves that look like you're going low to the ground will also go underneath highs. So while highs are generally the fastest attacks in the game, and some of the best attacks in the game at that, they are very easy to evade. But you cannot evade a mid, as you can see, by crouching. Mids will hit you no matter what. If you're crouching, if you're just even like a little bit in the air, doesn't matter. Mids will still hit you. So mids, as a penalty, tend to be a bit slower than highs, because they'll catch you no matter what. Both highs and mids are defeated by stand blocking, but stand blocking cannot defeat a low. So herein comes, the 3D Fighter 101. So when people are, just being defensive, you can open them up with lows. Unlike compared to, say, Tekken, most lows are negative on hit in this game. The reward is you got the low in and of itself. Some people have strong lows, yes, but generally, most of the casts, lows are, to keep people honest from just stand blocking everything. Most lows will get blown up if they are crouch blocked, and you'll usually get some kind of punish. And once again here, if you're crouch blocking, a high will still go over your head, but a crouch block cannot defeat a mid. So a crouch block can only get lows and nothing else, but it will avoid highs as well. But you gotta watch out for those pesky mids, otherwise they'll blow you up. Now, to keep things interesting and confusing, on top of high, mids, and lows, there's also EX highs, EX mids, and EX lows. And they're all special. Now, one, down punch is an EX low, and just so you know, it's the best move in the game for every character, so just keep that in mind. So what do these mean now on top of high, mid, low? So for lows, it's bad. For mids, it's debatable. For highs, it's actually a giant benefit. So an EX low can be blocked standing. So the whole point of a low is to defeat a high block, right? And EX low can still be stand blocked. So it maintains all the properties of a low. So effectively, I get to stand block it even though it's a low, and I can also use moves that are tailor-made to beat lows, that like jump over them or avoid lows some way somehow. So it's all downside. All downside. The caveat being, EX lows are usually some of the best attacks in the game, and the reason you can stand block it is to keep it somewhat balanced. Now on the flip, EX mid. So there's regular mids, which you cannot crouch block. However, you can crouch block an EX mid. The thing though, is it changes the frame data for one. So here, Aoi is crouch blocking against my move here, my spin hook. And if she stood block that instead of being +1, it's -8. So a massive frame differential. So yeah, she can crouch block it unlike a regular mid, but at least I get a nice little frame bump. Also, it forces characters who blocked the EX mid to stand up. And a lot of EX mids, not every EX mid, but a lot of EX mids are part of a string. So basically, if you are forced to block the first thing, it forces you to stand up, and then you're guaranteed the follow-up. So there's good and bad with an EX mid. An EX high is all advantage though. So an EX high will still whiff on a croucher like a regular high. Yes. However, in a situation like this, where I'm going to go for like a regular high and I'm just going to whiff, right? Because they're crouching. Effectively, if they're attacking, an EX high counts as a mid. So if they're going to attack you, it'll beat it. So unlike a regular high that would just strictly whiff, an EX high will still connect. So basically they're really good for counters and stuff like that. Many EX highs tend to have very large rewards. So if you know they're going to press a button, an EX high will still beat them even if they're crouching versus a regular high that'll whiff every single time. So EX low, all downside. EX mid can be good or bad. EX high is all upside. And once again, EX highs generally are some of the more standout attacks in the game. Now, another major part of the game is counterattacks, and it's a very big part of just about every fighting game. And counterattack is exactly what you think. So attack the enemy as they're attacking, and then you get a counter hit. Sarah is a very strong example of how strong counter hits can be. So stand kick, okay. Doesn't seem like too much by itself, right? However, if it hits as a counter hit, oh, it becomes a launcher. And then all of a sudden, she can rip off a giant chunk of your health, right? So you gotta beware the counter hit. And many characters have moves that if the move hits as a counter hit, they're basically gonna get some form of a combo. Keeping with our Sarah example here, down forward punch and kick. By itself, not too much. If it hits as a counter hit, it's another launcher. And then if that hits from there, hey, naturally enough, more combos, right? So aiming for the counter hit is always a very big deal. And on top of just, the properties, like it's as basic as sometimes moves just get better. Like, hey, forward kick does 16 damage on a regular hit. If it hits as a counter hit, it does 24 damage. That's not just like a little increase, that's a big increase. Also, counter hits give you more frame advantage. -2 on hit versus +2 on hit. Now you've seen kind of how this is important, right? Things like launchers, moves that already start juggles without the need of a counter hit, right? Launchers launch higher if they counter hit. So for Sarah, here, this example combo, it'll hit, but we won't get the special effect. However, with the counter hit, because it launches a little bit higher, we get the bound effect, and we'll talk more about that later. So not only is the combo going to do more damage, because of the raw hit being counter hit, we're going to get a combo that wasn't possible without the counter hit. So counter hits are a very, very big deal. And some other counter hit notes. So an opponent is evading your moves, right? But if you hit them with a move that has tracking, and you hit them in the direction that they're going with the tracking move, that also becomes a counter hit. So that Sarah example before, we mentioned that kick, right? The launcher kick. If they evade the direction it tracks in, that also is a counter hit, and you also will get the full combo. Backdashing is very important in this game for movement, as it helps you just, gain spacing and all that, right? And if you happen to hit a backdash, then the backdash also leaves them in a counter state. In this game, many characters just their down forward kick. If it hits a backdash, it'll create a stun where they fall over. And from that, you get big time combos. And every character can benefit from it. It's usually down forward kick, diagonal down forward kick. For some characters, just regular kick, different character to character. But if you catch them with that kick while they're backdashing, it's probably going to be a game-winning combo. So the counter hit is a very big deal for every character in the game. Aim for the counter hits. Now, another important part of the basics of offense is what happens when you knock someone down. So a lot of knockdowns, the opponent will have the ability to tech and roll out. And as far as knockdown options, we'll cover that later in the video. But say they do nothing, what do? Well, there's universal grounded attacks. So if they're just going to stay on the ground, for everyone, a diagonal punch or diagonal kick, and for some people like Wolf, both, because he has a lot of options, you basically just do a grounded attack. It's basically the penalty. If you don't try to wake up in some way, if you just stay on the ground, then your opponent gets a free guaranteed hit on you. They'll like kick you in the shin or elbow you, something like that. A few people like Wolf, they have more advanced attacks like the People's Elbow that only work on grounded foes. Or even, if you really don't want to get up, some characters also have grounded throws, and we'll cover that in the throw section. If you're looking for something a bit more dynamic, if you know they're just going to not get up at all, people also have leaping attacks, and that is usually up punch or up and kick. And for people like Wolf, you can do both. You can even drop the leg, brother, because he's the wrestler. Not too complex, really simple. A lot of the game is how people choose to wake up. And these attacks are, if they do nothing, then you just get your free hit in. And you might as well take the damage if it's presented to you. Now, this part of the offense basics, a bit of a public service announcement, I guess. Every character in every fighting game has their best moves, and I'm about to tell you the 3 best moves for every single character in the game. Everyone's 3 best moves are punch, down and punch, forward and punch. Why is that? So for pretty much just about everybody, stand punch is going to be your fastest move. There's a couple rare exceptions, but for the most part, it's going to be stand punch. And stand punch by itself has decent advantage on hit, and more importantly, is always advantage on block. Now, punches usually have a lot of different chains, and those numbers, they're very subject to change depending on the string, right? But the base punch in and of itself is always advantage on block. So if you toss out punch and it interacted with the character in any way, be it hit, be it got blocked, it doesn't matter. You can rest assured you now have the advantage. You now have the initiative. You're at advantage frames. You have regained control of your character first. Ball's in your court. That's kind of the essence of frame advantage. So generally going to be your fastest attack. And if it hits on block or on hit, it's your turn. Simple as that. So stand punch is a real breadwinner. So now on the flip, down punch. So if you watched the earlier section talking about attack heights, it's an EX low, which is a bad thing. It's not good to be EX low, but it doesn't matter because it's still one of your most important attacks. Because down punch is just as fast as your standing punch. They're both 12 framers. And once again, this makes it, with the rare exceptions, your fastest attack. But as a crouching attack, that means any highs, you're gonna beat them. Any throws, you're crouching, and plus you're attacking anyways, but regardless. So now, You're beating all highs just by attacking and crouching. You're beating throws, right? So you're negating a huge part of the game's offense just by the simple act of down and punch. You're negating about 50% of all moves in the game. It's also completely safe on block. It's only -5. And we mentioned earlier in the video how important counter hits are, right? If it hits as a counter hit, it's +7, meaning effectively that whatever you do next, your opponent's basically in a mix-up situation. Nothing's necessarily guaranteed, but you have so much frame advantage, they kind of just gotta guess. So it's a combination of very evasive, and a simple down jab can lead to a monstrously advantageous situation for you. Okay, so stand punch is amazing, crouch punch is amazing. What about forward punch? Forward punch is a little slower than these two, it's 14 frames, but with rare exception, it is everybody's fastest mid attack. Considering down punch is generally the best panic button in the game for almost everybody, that means when they're going crazy with this, a forward punch being your fastest mid will beat them. Let me show you an incredibly common scenario. The opponent is at frame disadvantage, like say after blocking a stand punch, because it's always advantageous, and they'll try to hit down and punch to steal their turn. And if they stole the turn successfully, now they have frame advantage, and now your back's against the wall, metaphorically, right? But now, in this scenario, I win. I took my slight frame advantage, my fastest mid attack, and how this game works is, if two attacks hit on the same frame, whichever move does more damage will win. And everyone's forward punch does more damage than crouch punch. So it's really that simple. These are your fastest attacks. This is always your turn if it connects in any way, shape, or form. This is very defensively powerful as it evades attacks and steals turns. And this stops people from trying to evade attacks and steal turns. So stand punch, crouch punch, forward punch. These are your best moves for every character. For a couple characters like Wolf, it's down forward punch, not forward punch. But yeah, generally this is called the elbow class. As forward punch for everyone just about is always some kind of elbow. So these three buttons, regardless of what character you're playing, these are basically your best moves always, and everything else comes after that. Now, as for the basics of defense, the easiest one is, you got to use the block button. This is not a back to block game. You have to hold the button. And the whole downside of holding the button is when you're blocking, you can't exactly move, right? So the enemy might do something crazy and they might try to throw you. There's a lot of downsides, but also blocking makes you not die to attacks. So that's the most basic building block of defense, but you got to hit the block button. People who don't block die. Now, another building block in defense is just movement in and of itself. Now, movement also could be offensive, I suppose, but here's the thing. In Virtua Fighter specifically, once you guys start getting in there and you're fighting, like, you guys are really stuck together. The reason you get unstuck is through things like movement. Otherwise, you're just slugging it out point blank. So this is, naturally enough, a 3D game. And here's the thing. Regular 3D movement, like this kind of movement, you're almost never going to use it. It's there, but not so much, right? You're mostly going to be moving through things like back dashes and forward dashes, or just your regular walks. Now, here's the thing about movement in this game. For pretty much all your major forms of movement, back dash, forward dash, side steps, all that kind of stuff, you can cancel anything and anything. So I can forward dash and cancel that immediately into a side step. I can back dash and cancel that into a side step. In fact, if I want to move very fast, you can see me just kind of going back dash into step, into back dash into step. So like one of the easiest ways to gain a lot of space very quick is back dash, side step, cancel, back dash. And then you just gain a lot more space than just back dashing by itself. And this is similar to, say, Tekken, I guess. One thing, though, in this game, you cannot block while backdashing. So you got to really watch out. If you want to block, you got to hit the block button. That's the only way to do it. But yeah, that's the thing. Also, this game allows for crouching dashes. And crouching dashes are quite strong in a lot of ways. Because, while you're crouching, you can't be hit by various high attacks or various throws. And then, you can kind of advance forward while avoiding all these moves. So sometimes if you need some space really quickly, a crouching backdash or a crouching forward dash is the option to go for, as you'll avoid a lot of the attacks in the game while doing it. Also, when it comes to regular just steps for space, and steps also matter for evasion, which we'll talk about in a moment, but if you step and then hit all three buttons, you do an offensive move. So the offensive move doesn't have any defensive properties. But what it does is it gives you a lot of space very fast. So, you know, as we mentioned here, this game has stuff like ring outs. So the fight for positioning, either if you're near a ring out or near a wall, is very important. And the offensive move gives you just way more space traveling, right? So if you're looking to corner your enemy or get out of the corner yourself, this is a really good way to do it. So once again, up or down, and then just hit all 3 buttons. And then you'll move much more to the side than the regular step. Now, as a little addendum to movement here, there is jumping. That's usually just up, forward, or up, back, and guard. Jumping, this isn't Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. Jumping is not that big of a deal. But for some characters, their jump attacks are pretty decent. Like, say, Wolf. Jump and then land and hit kick. Or jump and land and hit punch. That's a 50-50. One's low, one's a mid. The low, you can get a little combo off of it. The mid can force you to crouch against your will, and then maybe hits you with the pedigree, right? So jumping, not that big of a deal, character to character, although as a jump, you automatically evade all lows, and it's just basically something to keep in mind. Now, let's talk a major part of this game, and that is evasion. Evasion is just as important to your defense as holding the block button is. Now, in Virtua Fighter, one of the beautiful things about Virtua Fighter is evasion is universal. It does not matter how big your character is. You can be as big as a bear, and you can still evade as much as anybody else. And it doesn't matter how small and French your character is. French characters evade just the same as everybody else. The evasive options are truly, truly universal across the entire cast. So you don't need to learn any character specifics. This character can sidestep this move, but this other character can't do it. Everybody follows the exact same rules. And what are the rules? Well, it's actually dirt simple. If you know an attack is coming your way, hit up or down. Done. It is literally that simple. If there's an attack on the screen happening while you hit up or down, you will become just invincible and you sidestep the move. It's really that simple. Now, specifically though, the attack has to be on the screen. So here I wait for Taka to attack and then I can sidestep. If I try to sidestep first before there's an attack, I get hit. The move will like kind of rotate to attack you. So you can't pre-sidestep. In fact, that's part of the mind game of the game, is getting people to sidestep when there is no actual attack coming, and then you hit them, because you are not allowed to hold the block button while you are sidestepping. But otherwise, if you know an attack's coming, as long as the attack is active in any way, shape, or form, like the button is being pressed, you hit up or down, you evade the move, simple as. Now here's the thing though, if I know that you're gonna evade, there's a lot of ways to beat it. So here, you know, Taka's evading everything, and now, didn't evade that one. So here's our handy little chart on the side of the screen. As you can see here, we have circular attacks. Evade back, evade front, circular attack, can't evade. So there's moves that track up or down, or moves that we call full circle attacks, and a full circle attack can't be evaded in any way, shape, or form. Well, at least by the evasion mechanic. This move specifically is a high, so you could duck it. You could evade it that way, I guess. But yeah, so if I know you're going to sidestep everything I'm going to do, you start busting out the anti-sidestep moves. Now here's the most important anti-sidestep move, by the way, is your throw. Once again, we mentioned throws are very important. Every character in this game is a grappler. Throws will always beat evasion. It's really as simple as that. So maybe they're so slippery you can't get them with anything, but a throw will always work no matter what. Now when it comes to the moves designed to beat evasions that are strikes, full circle moves are very good as they beat up and down evasions, but they tend to be a bit slower. So then there's also moves that have partial evasion like Leon here, down, forward, and kick. So you see here it has the up symbol. So you can sidestep it going up with the move. However, this same move, if you were to try to evade it the other way, then it cannot be evaded. So you can evade it one way, but not the other. These moves tend to be quite a bit quicker than the full circle tracking moves, but obviously the weakness is you can evade it, you just have to know which way to evade. But now, here's the other thing. So this is not fixed like Tekken. Characters, the way they face, will change when they do various moves, right? So for Leon, down forward kick, I'm doing the same move each time, right? But you see how Taka is evading it half the time? So here, you can see Leon, my chest is out. Now I do the move, and now my chest is away from the screen. These are what we call open and closed stances, right? So, On top of having to know which way to evade a move, you also have to know which way the opponent is facing, because that will actually change which way the move tracks. So that's where a lot of the layers of depth come from in Virtua Fighter, as you have to pay attention to things like that. Just the way they're facing. Is their stomach facing the screen, or is their stomach facing away from the screen? Because it literally will flip the way moves track with partial tracking. Now, the other thing to note here is evades always take the same amount of time. So if the opponent only does a move that takes a little bit of recovery, they'll have time to block. An evasion in and of itself is not a guarantee you get a counter attack. Bigger moves can give you guaranteed counters. So it's really up to them, you know, like how big of an attack do you want to go for after you actually get the sidestep versus, you know, what did they do? Generally, smaller rewards, well, they're safer, they have a higher chance of actually succeeding. But then again, you know, sometimes you got to swing for the fences and get like the big combo starter. So that's up to you. But yeah, that's kind of Evasion 101. Once again, this is one of the most important building blocks of the game. If any attack comes, it doesn't matter how big or small, it doesn't matter what character you are, how big or small your character is. This is universal. It is as simple as tapping down or up. And you evade the attack, you are just actually invincible. Unless the move tracks. Once again, throws always track. And other moves can have either the full circle tracking, that means they beat both steps, or they can have partial circle tracking. They can track either up or down. Thankfully, as you can see here, in training mode, it makes it very clear which move is which, so you can find out for yourself. But yeah, evasion, huge part of Virtua Fighter. Now, another very important part of defense is knowing how to break staggers. Now, to be all the way real with you, stagger is nobody's favorite mechanic. I don't expect it to return in Virtua Fighter 6, but it's in this game, so we got to talk about it. So, when you're staggered, you see that little kind of Joy-Con icon, right? And it's just going back and forth. And that's kind of what it's asking you to do, is basically mash buttons and directions. So when you're staggered, you can't block, you can't do anything. If you don't break out of the stagger fast enough, then the next move is guaranteed. So you have to break out of the stagger fast enough. You see when it's on the screen, it starts off green, then turns red. The part where it's green is like, let you know, hey, this is coming up, this is happening. And the part that's red is the part that you can escape. Now, whatever you press will not register during the green part, but this is to get you ready, right? Start mashing. So once it's red, every input you do matters. I mean more than just, you know, hitting the buttons. I mean, every directional input also matters. Every single input, no matter what it is, a button press, a direction, will lower the stagger time. So let's take Wolf and his drop kick to your feet. That causes a stagger state. If you don't stagger out in time, something like kick kick, as you can see here by the hits, that's a natural combo. But it's an escapable combo. You don't have to get hit by it. So you can see here the dummy's doing to me, and after I get hit, I can hold guard all I want. I'm not getting out of it. But if I just start hitting buttons, as you can see, now I can block it. So there's generally an etiquette to stagger escapes, in that you should hold block first, and then hit all the various buttons and directions. So that way, you know you're blocking. Because if you're just like mashing, you might get hit anyways. Like you escaped successfully, sure, but then you got hit by the follow-up regardless. So when you know the stagger is coming, hold block first, and then hit your various buttons, and then you hopefully will escape the stagger in time. Now there are situations where the stagger, despite being on screen, is actually inescapable. Like here with Wolf, I can shove you into a wall, and then you see the stagger icon. And we can set the bot here to the fastest possible stagger recovery. So basically like better than what a human can do. And even with the fastest possible recovery, you're still kind of boned. Like if I wait a little bit, then they'll block in time. But sometimes when there's a stagger, if the opponent knows what they're doing, like sometimes there's just points where regardless of the stagger on screen or not, it's inescapable, right? This is an older game. It's been out for quite some time. If you fight people that know what they're doing, situations like this with Wolf, this is guaranteed regardless if he gives you the stagger break option or not. There's no possible way to stagger out fast enough. Most of the truly inescapable stagger situations are wall-based. So that's just something to keep in mind, I guess. But generally in the middle of the screen, not near a wall or anything like that, if there is a stagger on the screen, it can be hard to shake out in time, but you can shake out in time. You won't always get it. Don't feel bad. Nobody's perfect. Like, all the best of us, we still screw it up a lot, right? But it basically gives you the option, it gives you the chance to see it. Okay, I'm going to hold my buttons down and just mash like crazy and hope I shake out in time. Now let's get into everything about throws. As mentioned at the top of the video, throws are one of the most important parts of the game. Just as much as you like punching and kicking your foe, throws are very important because throws are actually the fastest attacks in the game, for one. With rare exceptions, most of those exceptions being Wolf, because he's the wrestler, throws are 10 frames, which make them even faster than the fastest attacks. And on top of being 10 frames and fast, throws also beat side steps. So they're quick and you can't evade them. And naturally enough, throws being throws, you can't exactly block them either. So now let's get into Throw 101 here. So throws come in 3 flavors. Every character has lots of kind of throws. But regardless of what the throw does in the end, you know, properties, damage, whatever, every throw is one of 3 things. A neutral throw, which is just guard and punch together. Neutral throw, everyone has a neutral throw. A back throw, back, punch and guard together. And most back throws move you backwards. Not all of them, but most of them. And forward throws. And most forward throws do the most damage. Not all of them. There's always exceptions, right? But that's generally how it is. Neutral throw, back throw, forward throw. And every throw in the game is some derivative of these throws. Sometimes your environment matters when it comes to throws, as lots of characters have wall throws, where they interact with the environment and use the wall to hit you. Sometimes for the throws that interact with the environment, the type of wall matters. There's tall walls or shorter walls. So like this is a throw that only works with a short wall, because Go is literally climbing the wall to help with this throw. For Wolf, this throw only works if it's a high wall, a big wall, because he's body slamming you against the wall. Now I did mention all throws, no matter how they're done, are always going to be either neutral, back, or forwards. And that's why this is important to make this distinction, because that's how you break throws in this game, because there's only 3 possible breaks: neutral, back, and forward. That's it, that's all. A character can have 20 different throws, but all throws are broken neutral, forward, or back. Done. Like here, Go is going for his regular neutral throw. And since it's neutral, I just hit throw, no directions, and I tech it. Simple as that. But if I were to try to tech it with back or forward throw, not going to happen. Conversely, now he's going to go for his forward throw. So I have to hit forward in my direction, so forward towards him, not back, and throw, and then I tech the forward throw. And just to finish this off, this is his back throw. So if I want to tech it, I hit back and throw, and then I tech it. Now here's the real thing about how throws work in Virtua Fighter. Throws do not exist in a vacuum. So regular throw, back throw, forward throw, yes, they all look the same. Compared to say like Tekken, you can't tell the throw by just the animation, right? But you can tell the throw by the situation you're in. Like say Vanessa here. In defensive stance, her most damaging throw is her half circle back throw. And it does 70 damage. That's a lot of damage to get thrown by. Like you don't want to eat 70 damage. That's a back throw. She also has back throws that change position with you. So say if you're closer to the wall or heaven forbid, you know, a ring out situation, that's pretty dangerous. Also back throws that switch position with you. And also like this one here, the Irish Whip will just actually ring you out if you get hit by it. So in a vacuum, generally speaking, her back throw is the scariest throw. This is the one you got to watch out for. Neutral throw doesn't do as much damage. And we have forward throws here that do damage as well, but they don't do as much damage. Knowing your opponent's character, the throws they have, the options they have, that's what informs the throw break situation most of the time. Once again, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. There's best throws for certain situations, and then there's the mind game of, oh, I'll do not my best throw, so you won't break that, and then, you know, layer on from there. Like say Wolf the wrestler, all of his best throws are forward throws. The ones that do the most damage, including the Burning Hammer, which takes basically half your life, they're all forward breaks. So in a vacuum, middle of the screen, forward break is probably the option you want. Now, thankfully, you can be defensive while actively breaking throws. You know, it's scary. Throws are the fastest attacks in the game, and if you guess wrong, you get thrown, right? But you can make educated guesses as to what's going to happen, and you can do it passively. That's what we call the lazy throw escape. So while you're holding block and just hold punch, you're breaking throws automatically. You don't have to do anything. You don't need sick reaction times. You just need to block, hold punch, you're automatically breaking throws. So going for his basic neutral throw again. And here I am. I'm holding block and punch, and he'll never throw me. I'm not doing any reaction checks. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just simply holding punch while blocking, and I'm automatically breaking all neutral throws. Now, with that same logic, when you're guarding and holding punch, if you hold back or forward, you're automatically breaking all back or forward throws. So basically, when you're blocking, you're defending against attacks, right? When you do this and hold punch and hold the direction, or don't hold the direction for neutral break, you're also defending against one of the 3 throw types as well. So blocking against attacks and throws at the same time. It's basically an educated guess what throw are they going to go for. So once again, with the Wolf example, he has Burning Hammer. This is the most damaging throw in the game. You're going to lose half your life if this hits you, right? So while I'm blocking, and I know this is going to happen, I hold guard and forward, and I know that's a forward throw. It's a forward break. So now it can never, ever hit me. I don't got to do anything special. I still get the block. This is once again called the lazy throw escape, because while you're blocking, you're also escaping throws. Now, of course, here comes the mind games, right? So while I'm doing this, if he knows I'm breaking throws that way, then say he goes for a back throw and he hits me with the F5. This hurts, but it doesn't hurt as much as that Burning Hammer. And then this is kind of the throw mind game of Virtua Fighter 5. I know what your best option is, so I'm going to try to break it while I'm blocking, and I don't got to do anything special. I just hold punch and hold the direction. And if I know what you're going to do, like say now I know he's going to go for the back throw, then I'll break out of it. And then, okay, now he's breaking back throw. Do I go back to the forward throw, or do I go for the neutral throw? Everyone in the game, neutral throw is their worst throw, pretty much. And thus, neutral throw is also basically the hardest throw to break, because no one ever wants to break neutral throw. Because back and forward throw are all the very scary throws are at. Neutral throw, okay, I got hit, took a little bit of damage, cost of doing business. So therefore, neutral throws are almost guaranteed. That's kind of the way to look at it, I guess. They're almost guaranteed, because no one's willing to break neutral throw when they can break forward or back when all the terrifying throws are. Throws are very powerful in this game by design. Once again, every character in this game is a grappler. Just some people grab better than others. So knowing how to break throws is a very big deal, but thankfully the game makes it very easy for you. And you being in the enemy's head, you know, your positioning on screen, are they trying to go for damage, or are they trying to psych you out by going for less damage? This is part of the beautiful mind game that is Virtua Fighter. Now, there are a few throws that are different. So once again, the base throw, no matter what direction it is a 10-frame move. But some throws are specialty throws. Like take El Blaze here, and he does the old Frankenstein or the Hurricane Rana, right? So certain throws are what we call catch throws. So catch throws are a little bit different. Normally, when you go for a throw, as we talked about at the beginning of the video, any attack beats throws. Like you simply cannot be thrown while you're attacking. You press a button, can't be thrown. You can only be thrown if you're standing still or guarding. Sure. But catch throws will still throw you even if you're attacking, as long as the throw hits first. If it hits second, well, hey, you got hit. But a catch throw will beat you if you're attacking. So here, Jean's going for his kick. And I can knock him out of it with my catch throw, even if he's in the beginning of the animation, when normally he'd be invincible. You still got to be fast enough, right? But that's kind of the power of catch throws. Catch throws tend to be quite a bit slower, but they can knock you out of attacks. Also, as you can see here, I have the bot set to escape all throws. And sure enough, right? They'll escape the throws. But catch throws are inescapable. They are guaranteed no matter what. So if you can hit the enemy with a catch throw, then, well, you're guaranteed to get them. So that's one of the really strong things. They will beat attacks if you actually beat the attack. And no matter what, the throw is guaranteed unbreakable if it hits. Not everybody has catch throws. They're pretty rare. Generally, it's more traditional grappler style characters like the wrestlers that have it. And they generally do not do as much damage as a lot of the other throws in the game because they are very, very powerful. But they do exist, and they're some of the best throws in the game. Now, on top of catch throws, a different kind of throw is the crouch throw. So normally throws are great, but they're all highs, and you can duck underneath them. A crouch throw, well, it hits people while they're crouching. And just like regular throws, there's multiple kinds of crouch throws. So there's a down crouch throw, down forward, and down back. And when it comes to teching, it's much the same principle as a regular throw. So when the crouch throw happens, you're still allowed to tech, and you can still do lazy throw escape as we mentioned earlier. But you have to do it with the appropriate down direction. So a down throw, a neutral throw as it would be, is just down and throw break. A down forward throw will be broken by down forward and throw. And a down back crouching throw has to be broken, funnily enough, with a down back. So the thing about this is it does make crouch throws inherently much more dangerous and harder to break, because with regular throws, you can literally just turn your brain off while you're blocking. Hold punch in the direction and you just break them all. A crouch throw, you have to specifically anticipate a crouch throw and break in a different direction. It has to be one of the down directions. So they're obviously a lot rarer, but they are quite a bit scarier as well. There is also grounded throws. And grounded throws, well, it's kind of what it sounds like. If you're on the ground, they can throw you and get some damage in. And just like before, there is throw breaks, grounded throw breaks. The thing about grounded throws, though, it's more simple. There's only 2 throw breaks. It is down forward and throw, and down and throw. There is no down back. So there's only 2 possible options, making it basically a 50-50. And here's the thing. Generally, for the character to have multiple ground throws, some people only have 1, and it's just 2 breaks, and you just got to guess the break, right? Some people, like Wolf, they have this option here, like the big clothesline from hell. This is the least scary option. For Wolf and Jeffrey, their down ground throw basically forces you up against your will, and it can smash you into walls, and they get guaranteed combos from it. And like, you'll die. You'll die. So if you're in that situation near a wall, always break down instead of down forward, because those are the 2 breaks. Because one, you need a clothesline, and it sucks, I guess, but the other one, you just actually die. So in those situations, one throw break is much more valuable than the other. Now, in this section, we're going to be talking about character weights. So this is sort of a direct prelude to the combo section, which will be next, because weight affects just about every single combo in the game. And what is weight? Well, weight is when someone gets launched, how high in the air do they go? It's effectively the replacement for like the health system. In Street Fighter, Zangief has more health than Akuma does, right? And Akuma can do more things because he has less health. And in this game, well, weight is the balancing factor. So if you are a lightweight, you go higher up in the air. So example, basic combo. Okay, that worked fine against Aoi. And the juggle that works against a 90-pound Japanese girl does not work the same against a 300-pound Canadian. So that's kind of the essence of weight. Now, in Ultimate Showdown 2.0 / V5 the weight system has very much been condensed. The heavy characters are not as heavy, and the lighter characters are more heavy. Now, as for who's heavy and who's not, you can mostly just discern by looking at the characters. Like, all the girls are lightweights. The smaller guys are only a little bit heavier than them. Big boys like Wolf and Jeffrey are the heavyweights. People like Akira and Jackie are just below them. Like, mostly, if you look at the character, you can pretty much assume what weight they're gonna be. And then there's Taka. So Taka, you take a look at the boy and you might assume a thing or two about his weight, right? It's a glandular problem. Anyways, so Taka has a completely different rule set than everyone else. He just can't get launched the same as everybody else. It's not a matter of fact of he gets launched higher or lower. He just doesn't get launched. In situations where he would be launched, he'll fall backwards instead. And depending on the character, depending on the combo, you can kind of mess him up pretty bad. It's not always to his favor. Most of the time it is, sometimes it isn't. And some moves that knock people down do not knock Taka down if they do not pass a damage threshold. He literally is just too big that he cannot get knocked down by every move. If a move does less than 20 damage, it won't knock him down. Straight up. Like this move here for Leon, the second hit's the part that knocks down, and it doesn't do more than 20 damage, so he's fine. He won't get knocked over. In a lot of ways, Taka Arashi is the game's ultimate scrub killer, because he's the ultimate knowledge check. Because it's not a matter of does he weigh more or less, it's just he literally has his own unique rule set he plays by. So in the balance update that came with VF5 R.E.V.O, they actually made him much more consistent against the rest of the cast. His stuff's much more normalized, along with everyone else's weights being normalized. So you still have to pay attention. He still has unique combos that only really work on him, and they usually do less damage, usually. But effectively, that's the essence of the weight system. The heavier they are, the harder it is to get more advanced combos on them. But come this version of Virtua Fighter 5, it's been heavily condensed, and combos are now a lot more universal than they used to be. Now, let's talk the basics of just combo structure, the anatomy of a combo. Now, some stuff works kind of like exactly like you'd think. Like, you do a string, and a lot of strings are naturally just combos. Like this 3-hit combo, okay, it all hits, good to go, right? Sure. But not all strings, even if they are a string, naturally combos. Like this move here, the final kick, doesn't naturally combo from the rest of the hits. Much the same here, all the follow-ups. Some strings, the follow-ups are just like a mix-up in and of themselves. It's not necessarily just raw combo material. When it comes from combos from purely just strings, like hitting buttons, normally it's going to be 2-3 hits tops. And anything more than that, you probably need like a count hit or something really special. So besides basic strings, how do we do combos? Well, one of the easiest answers is, go for the big launch, right? Lots of characters have just big time launchers. They just send you absolutely flying, and then you combo out from there. Generally, though, these are not the safest moves on block. You see that big angry yellow -15? That's not a good number to beat. But Fighting Game 101, something like this, the big launcher into the combo, I think is mostly self-explanatory. But there's a lot of little other smaller combo opportunities you can get. A lot of things that aren't necessarily just the giant launch. Like lots of characters have, well, smaller launchers. They're usually a good deal safer on block, usually have a caveat of maybe it's a high that you can duck, or the combo you get from it isn't going to be quite as grand as the gigantic launcher, but you get something, just quick little knockdown, go from there. Sometimes you fall to your back. Some mini combo starters here are like crumples, well, they'll fall down to the ground, and from there, once again, not gigantic combos, but you get some hits in. A lot of characters have really good, like mini launchers, if you want to call them, off crumples, head crumples, where if he gets hit with a counter hit, like this move here from Brad, you just kind of fall over like a sack of crap when he kicks you in the head. And generally speaking, moves that give you combos off counter hit give you just a lot more damage than moves that just are combo starters in and of themselves on regular hit. Not as much maybe as the full gigantic unsafe launchers, but as kind of a scaling thing. The safer your move is, the easier it is for you to get the combo, usually it does less and less damage, and the harder it is to get the reward, then the more and more damage the move will do. But basically, once they're in a combo okay state, then you just hit buttons, right? You just kind of get in what you can get. Like that part, I think, is fairly self-explanatory. Once their feet leave the ground in some way, they lose control of their character, then you go nuts and hit as many buttons as you can. And, sometimes it can be kind of simple, but obviously there's some extra rules, right? There's what we call big bounds and little bounds. So what are bounds? If you know Tekken, you probably already know where we're going here, but in case you don't, bounds basically force the opponent to get back up after being knocked to the ground to some degree. A big bound is very pronounced. A big bound is like that. It literally forces you to stand up again. And when you stand up again, after you hit the ground, well, of course, naturally, you can do a lot of different combo stuff. So if I hit you here, I can just kind of really take you to town, right? I can get a lot of extra damage in. So that's one of the beauties of the big bound. And generally the rule is a big bound is moves that just look like they come right from the top and slam you down. Like for Taka, this move right here, this is a big bound. Or Jeffrey, this move right here, back, down, forward, punch plus kick. You can just kind of see the angle. It's not a hard and fast rule, but generally these are the kind of moves that do the big bounds. And one last example for Sarah here. Once again, it's just the moves that kind of look like this. These are the moves that will bound you down. And then, well, bounce you back up so you can get a combo. There's also little bounds. So these moves will slam you down and it'll put your feet up in the air, but it won't quite re-stand you fully. So you will still be able to get follow-ups, but not necessarily like the biggest possible slower move follow-ups. And basically, depending on your combo, you can get, a big launch. Usually it'll give you a big bound, and some smaller combos will give you a little bound. And yes, you are allowed to mix and match. You are allowed to do both in the combo if your launcher is big enough, like this example here. So here we go. We're going to do a big bound into the little bound and then finish our combo. And that does a lot of damage. If you can get both off in the same combo, you're probably going to do a lot of damage. Now, as for the combo rules of which moves are little bounds, that's not as obvious. Usually it still looks like some kind of spike, like a move coming from high up and slamming down. But you're going to have to mess around and play for yourself. You know, there's a lot of combo videos. The game is older. You can see what works for your character. But that's kind of the basic rules. Obviously, once you get them off their feet some way, shape, or form, hit buttons, get your damage in. Sure, yes. But specifically the rules of big bounds and little bounds help you get as much damage as possible for your character. And that's kind of the basics of combos. And I guess just as a little FYI, the same move cannot bound twice in a combo. So once it does it, whatever bound it's going to do, that's it, that's all. Now let's talk combos and the wall. Combos and ring outs are a bit self-explanatory. Like if you got launched and you fall out of the ring, you die. Game over. But combo and the wall, there's a couple specific rules. Like yes, can you beat up the opponent against the wall? Like, hey buddy, you sure can. You can absolutely annihilate your opponent against the wall. Sort of by design, right? They can get a lot of your biggest combos from the wall. But what are the particulars here? So the first thing is, once your opponent's against the wall, if you hit them with literally anything, it'll bounce them on the wall. Just a matter of how severe will the bounce be. So you can see here, I just down jab here, it bounces them on the wall. And yes, that will change the frame data. So example here for Sarah, down, back, kick, and guard, kick. Just a 2-hit string, right? But it's not a natural combo, as you can see. But the first hit will bounce the opponent off the wall, thus changing the frame data, and now it is a natural combo, right? So certain moves, certain strings that don't normally combo, if you can get the opponent to bounce off the wall while you're doing it, it will make it combo. So just that in and of itself is incredibly valuable. Also, there's a bit of a damage threshold. So down forward kick here for Sarah, 20 damage, right? You can see Jeffrey's kind of bouncing off the wall. Now look at this move here. Just regular stand kick, does 21 damage. And now against the wall, this staggers Jeffrey against the wall. What's the difference between these two moves? This bounces, this staggers. Well, it's literally the damage. It is actually the damage threshold of 21. If a move does 20 or less damage, it'll make the opponent bounce off the wall. If it does 21 or more damage, it'll stagger them against the wall. And yes, there is a little bit of protection, so you can't just infinitely bounce people off the wall forever. A little bit of a cooldown, so just FYI. But yeah, if your move does 21 or more damage, then you get a stagger. And if you get a stagger, then in a lot of cases, you get a guaranteed combo. So note here, I have the opponent set to the fastest possible stagger recovery. So they're shaking out as fast as possible. And in some cases, this will allow you to get out of the combo. Like it won't be a natural combo. Depending on the move, depending on how close you are or far away from the wall, you can actually make certain things just actually guaranteed. Like see, that was a 2-hit combo that time. Because I'm using her cartwheel kick is a very fast move. And even with the fastest possible stagger break, it can't get out of it in time. So in a lot of cases with your bigger moves, for like a lot of characters, could be like forward kick or whatever, it will force the wall stagger, and from the wall stagger, you get combos. And now let's use this example here. So boom, flash kick. So 2-hit combo already does 70 damage before we even start. And obviously notice that Jeffrey is splatted against the wall. And when he's splatted against the wall, well, we can use a lot of those combo rules that we talked about earlier. So now splatted against the wall, he's going to fall over, slump over, and, you know, I'm going to keep the combo train going, right? Because I'm allowed to. He's stuck up against the wall. You can actually, yes, bounce people against the wall multiple times per combo. As you can see right there. It's not infinite, but you can. But yes, you are allowed to basically just totally destroy people against the wall. And yes, when it comes to the rules of bounds and mini bounds, it all works the same here. And because they're up against the wall and they're bouncing against the wall, you can generally get much bigger combos than usual. As you can see here, right? Pretty healthy damage. So you can do all the same things you can do anywhere else on the screen, except there's just a couple specific rules that help you with your general offense and all that kind of stuff. And walls can be scary. Not the least of which we mentioned too in the combo section. A lot of characters just have like wall specific throws as well that only work against the wall. Like it sucks to be against the wall. You don't want to do it, especially on a stage like this. We call this a taco stage because you're immediately round one fight against the wall to begin with. So just keep those rules in mind. Once again here, if a move is 20 damage or less, it bounces them on the wall. If it's 21 damage or more, it staggers them against the wall. And if someone's staggered against the wall, a lot of times you can get guaranteed combos, and those combos using the wall can be absolutely brutal. So now our next section is a very important one, because what to do when you get knocked down. You can kind of just wait, I guess, and you'll eventually get back up, but that's not necessarily ideal, right? Because if you just wait, well, then I can bop you at bare minimum, right? Everyone has attacks that hit people while they're grounded. So not great to take more guaranteed damage. So there's quite a few things you can do. Let's start with tech rolls. So here we are, we're gonna get knocked down, right? Once again, if you just touch nothing, you eventually get back up. Like, you're not staying on the ground forever. But if you hit all three of your buttons when you get knocked down, then you get up right away. It's kind of that simple. If you happen to be on a specific arcade controller or, joypad or whatever, it might be easier for you to bind all three buttons to a specific button press. And it's easy enough to do that. Like, the game is very forgiving as far as inputs go. But that's simple. Okay, I got knocked down. I hit all three buttons as I'm just hitting the ground. I get back up right away. And once you get back up, as you're getting up, you are invincible, by the way. You cannot be hit out of tech rolling. And that's just a regular tech roll. You can do this forward or back neutral, doesn't particularly matter. You get up in place. If you hold up or down, however, you will roll to the sides. And in a lot of ways, this is kind of better because you get to change the positioning a little bit, right? Positioning matters in any stage you're in. So you can help move yourself out of the corner, maybe move your opponent a little bit into the corner. And a very distinct difference between side rolls and getting up in place, besides just the movement, is when you get up in place, you get up standing. So if I try to crouch block right away, I can't. I got to stand up first. So if people are just looking to bully you with like throws or whatever, like that's the thing. If you tech roll to the side though, you get up crouching first. So even if you want to stand up right away, you couldn't. So this is one small difference. It's not the end of the world either way, but it's something to note. You are gonna want to tech roll most of the time. Now, characters can have very nasty setups on you as you're getting up, right? And if the opponent starts employing those on you, and that's when you kind of change the name of the game, right? Then you don't get up right away. Okay, if you keep attacking me with the same setup every time I tech roll, next time I won't tech roll. And then your setup's just gonna whiff. And then I'll get up with a wake up attack and kick you in the head. So if you hit kick, either neutral kick or down and kick, you will do a wake up attack. And these are quite powerful. They're completely safe on block. They are full circle tracking. They're not evadable. And they're also invincible until the attack starts. So this is the equivalent of like the sure you can wake up, I guess. It's quite difficult to punish these. The best way to punish them is to not be in the way, like backdash out. And then if they go for it and whiff, then you punish that. But yeah, so the threat of the wake up kick. And once again, this is mid or low, so it's effectively a 50-50, right? If you stay on the ground. If they keep attacking you with like various setups as you are tech rolling when you get up, then go for that. And of course, then the mind game is then they anticipate you staying down, and then they can go back for those grounded attacks again and get those extra damage. There's also a secondary kind of wake up where it's not quite as fast as tech rolling is, but it is faster than manually getting up. And that, you just mash the guard button and you'll get up in place if you're neutral. If you hold backwards, you will roll backwards. And if you hold either of the two sides, you'll roll in that direction. Beauty of this is you can still do your wake up kick after the fact. So you have the added bonus of just moving around in the 3D plane as you're getting up, and you still get the wake up kick defense. In any fighting game, getting knocked down is very scary. You don't want to get knocked down, and the opponent is going to be looking for things to do to get you as you're getting up. If you get up quick, there's setups for it. If you stay on the ground, there's setups for it. Like, you're definitely at a disadvantage either way, but just keep in mind that you do have a lot of protections. Once again, with a tech roll, as you're rolling, whichever direction you choose, you are invincible as you get up. Wake up kicks are invincible until the attack begins. And keep in mind, that means the only way to beat it, to trade with it, is to do a move that does more damage than it. And a wake up kick does 20 damage. So like regular old jabs and all that, they're not beating it. So most of the time you're very safe in doing a wake up kick unless they specifically call it out and backdash out of the way and then punish you for attempting it. But yeah, once again, knockdown's scary. You don't want to get knocked down. I recommend against it, but it's going to happen. And now when it does happen, now you're armed with knowledge of what to do. Now, as we're starting to begin to close out the video, let's get into the weeds of some of the really advanced stuff. So once again, mentioned it many times, it's a 3D fighter. So you have the whole 3D plane of movement to move around with. And that means sometimes you can be to the side of your enemy or behind your enemy. And that matters a lot, especially due to the fact many characters have moves that'll force you to side turn or back turn against your will. You don't have a say in it. You just got back turned, and that opens you up to a bunch of different crazy things like, say, side throws, very specific combos. And now let's just kind of get into it. So here's the big deal. If you are side turned, one, moves have more frame advantage against you. This is on hit or on block. So the base jab here, +5, right? If I hit a side turned enemy, now it's +7. And here's the crazy thing. The frame advantage scales with damage. So the jab is 2 frames more, right? Now look at this. So down forward kick is +0, but it does more damage. Now it's +3. So it gives 3 additional frames of advantage instead of just 2 like the punch, because it does more damage. And if the move is really big and does more than 25 damage, then it's +6 bonus frames. So this move here, this punch and kick for Akira, so +5 normally on hit, and on side hit, it's +11 because it just does that much damage. So the more damage your move does, the more and more it scales. And then it leads to weird situations. When you are side turned or back turned, the numbers aren't exactly reliable. Like this move right here for Brad. So it says we're +9, but in reality, we're sort of more than +9. Because when you're side turn or back turn, it takes time to reface the opponent. Even if something as simple as holding block isn't immediate. If you're side turned, it takes 3 frames to reface the enemy. If you're back turned, it takes 6 frames to reface the enemy. So now that in mind, so something like this for Brad, +9 means actually effectively +12. You know what's 12 frames? Crouching jab. So that means in this scenario where we're +9, this is actually guaranteed. 100%. It's guaranteed. So the bot's going to do it to me, and you can see my controls here, my buttons, right? You're going to see me, I'm going to attempt to guard this, and I literally can't. Why? Because once again, I can't turn around right away. It takes 3 frames to turn around. So basically, when you're side turned, add 3 frames to whatever the situation is. Be it trying to mash buttons or like whatever, it doesn't particularly matter. It takes time to turn around from side turn or back turn. Now here's where this gets really scary. So in a lot of situations where you're forced to side turn against your will, someone could do something like this, just side kick. For most of the cast, this is down forward and kick. And this doesn't look like much, other than you see it says it hits side, right? But if you get forcefully side turned and you try to like mash buttons and someone goes for something like a side kick, that's a special crumple state where you're like, oh, my sides. And a lot of characters have mix-up scenarios where if you don't stand still, if you don't block like a good boy or girl, you're going to get kicked in the stomach, and that's kind of game over. So as long as you have them side turned some way, some form, and you have enough frames of advantage, once again, it takes them 3 frames before anything gets pressed. Block, punch, kick, whatever. It takes them 3 frames to turn around. If you mess around in these scenarios, that could be the end of you. So here, the bot's doing this exact same scenario for me, right? And they do have the frame advantage, but not so much that I can't block that move. As you can see, when I block 2, it says side, right? So it knows I'm doing something. But if I'm a silly person trying to mash out, even if I'm sort of turned around by the time I do like my crouch punch, it knows I'm doing it from the side turn position, and thus it'll give me that side turn counter hit, and then the whole combo will go from there. Of course, you can just block. Like, these scary mix-ups are defeated simply by blocking, right? Most things aren't guaranteed. But of course, the mix-up is once you start blocking, I know you're going to block. Everyone has side turn throws, which are a little bit better than regular throws. Or maybe they'll try to do something slow and unblockable, or force a stagger, or like go for a low, or like there's a million opportunities. But yeah, being side turn or back turn can be very scary. Now, of course, sometimes there's stuff to it. Sometimes you force yourself into the situation. Like Kage the Ninja, he's got some tricky stuff from back turn. You got to pay attention. When his back's to you, he's far from helpless. He can do a lot of different things. So there's always the give and take, right? But yeah, not everyone can abuse side turn a lot, but there is a good amount of characters that can side turn you against your will. And that's where some of the most deadly mix-ups in the game are. And that's the beginner's guide to Virtua Fighter 5. I know it was a longer video, I'm sorry, but I wanted to cover everything, right? There's a lot to go over. I like this game a lot. I want to teach you everything there is to teach, and well, here's pretty much, I think I'm probably missing something. I'll kick myself afterwards, but pretty much just about everything. Bonus thing, as you move, you can push people around. If you aggressively crouch dash someone near the corner, you can ring them out. You can push them into the ring out against their will. That's some fun tech. But yeah, so try out the game. It's on PS4. PS5 is Ultimate Showdown. It's on PC as Virtua Fighter 5 R.E.V.O. The only difference between the two is the PC version has better 4K graphics, and it does have rollback netcode, so it is a better online experience. So PC preferable, but that is the long and short of Virtua Fighter 5. Pretty cool game. I like it. If you're tuning in the day this went up, there'll be more videos to come. Otherwise, there'll probably be a playlist at the end of this video full of a bunch more guides for both the game itself and for characters. And other than all that, hey, hit the like button if you haven't already. Sincerely helps the video. But other than that, that is the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Virtua Fighter.